Welcome back to Huddle, everyone, and welcome to my Week 14 NFL review. 14 games happened. Got a lot to cover because a lot of teams moved up, a lot of teams moved down, and a lot of teams dropped out of the whole playoff race as a whole. So let's just get started because another crazy week in the NFL just ended. Starting with Thursday Night Football, the Lions took down the Cowboys 44-30. I kind of expected this to be a shootout. I mean, this game basically went how I expected it to because both teams put up a lot of points, but I thought that the Lions' home field advantage would pay off a lot. They were basically one step ahead of the Cowboys the entire time because the offense, it wasn't as clean as how it was in the second half against Philly and the whole game against Kansas City for Dallas. Dak threw a couple of interceptions. Jared Goff played really good, had a way better game. The Lions overall just executed more because the defense that they were playing against really wasn't all that great. Like the Cowboys defense is fine, but obviously it's not as good as Green Bay's defense from last week. But overall, a really good bounce back win for the Lions, who are still out of the playoff race right now, but I still think they can maybe claw their way back, assuming their offense starts to click and those fourth down plays start to come alive. But for the Cowboys, it does kind of suck because I think they have been playing some good football. Philly lost, which we'll talk about later, so maybe they still have a chance at winning their division, but the playoffs as a wildcard team seem kind of out of reach with how good the other teams are. For me, my man of the match goes to Jared Goff. I could have given it to Jahmyr Gibbs, who had 3 touchdowns, but he was overall very inefficient, didn't have one of those 200-yard games in which he looks explosive as hell. But Jared Goff had a very good game. He's been very good this whole season. He's just very accurate. Maybe one of the better pocket passers in the league. He doesn't have elite scrambling ability, but in terms of just standing there in the pocket and delivering the ball, there's not many quarterbacks who can do it better than Goff. But again, shout out to the Lions. And for the Cowboys, kind of sucks because you were kind of a bit on a hot streak after beating the 2 Super Bowl teams from last year, but the NFL is a cruel business. Now to Sunday, we got the Titans beating the Browns 31-19, with the Titans picking up now their second win of the entire season. This game was really weird because the Titans were pretty much ahead the entire time, but then the Browns started to crawl their way back because obviously the Titans weren't going to be consistent on offense the whole time. But Shedeur Sanders had definitely a great game, a little bit inaccurate, started out really good, then ended really good, and towards the middle he wasn't very great. But overall, he made some very nice throws, had really nice runs. He would have probably been my man of the match had they won the game. And they made the comeback, but then Stefanski took him on the play, which for me is just if you already didn't believe that there was an agenda, at least, or that there was some beef between Stefanski and Sanders, this just proves it. What are you doing? Your man of the match is right there, and you take him out of the play for the 2-point conversion, and you go with whatever the hell you went with, a wildcat, where you flipped it, or you didn't flip it back. I don't know what they were thinking. Stefanski's probably going to get fired if Sanders is the future. But, shout out to the Titans. Cam Ward had the best game of his career. He looked incredible. He stiff-armed a defender to avoid getting sacked. Overall, he looked very promising. Both of these rookies looked really good. My man of the match for me goes to Tony Pollard, actually. He had been silent the entire year. Ever since he left Dallas, he hasn't really been relevant. But he had a really nice game. Had around 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. And overall, this didn't really help the Titans in the long picture because it just hurt their draft picks. But at least it is very demoralizing having only 1 win in the entire season, so I guess this is just for morale purposes. Now we got the Seahawks destroying the Falcons 37-9 in what I think was maybe the largest blowout of the entire week. I didn't catch much of this game. I couldn't really tell you a lot about what happened in this game. It was just another patented Seattle blowout. I could probably say the exact thing of what I said when they faced New Orleans or Washington or any other team where they just destroyed them for 4 quarters. Actually, no, I lied. The first quarter, or the first half, was kind of competitive. It was still within reach, but then the Seahawks just turned on the afterburners, which I guess is the opposite of what they do in other games in which they blow you out in the first half. But yeah, Kirk played terrible. Darnold had a great game after kind of struggling last game. JSN played incredible, had around 2 touchdowns, and overall the Seahawks just established their dominance. Now, I believe next week they play. I don't believe they play the Rams. I believe they play the Rams in 2 weeks. I don't know who they play next week. I believe it's going to be an easy opponent, but they have to look forward to those games, both in San Francisco and at home against LA, because those are going to determine a lot about the NFC playoff picture. As for the Falcons, you lost your first-round pick now. You're losing games. Raheem Morris needs to be fired, in my opinion, because right now you guys are just in NFL purgatory. Also, my man of the match does go to JSN. He's still an incredible receiver. He's still probably the best receiver in the league, at least this season. Like I said, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. Great day for Seattle, and great day for Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now we got the Jacksonville Jaguars destroying the Colts 36-19. Kind of a deceiving final score because this game was really never close. Terrible news for the Colts as Daniel Jones went down with a torn Achilles. Really sucks for them that their season is basically being derailed before our eyes. And now with them losing their draft picks, it feels like they went all in on this year after starting 7-1, and it feels like it's just coming all crumbling down. Riley Leonard is now hurt, so he might also be out for next week's game. I don't even know who they play. I think they play some hard team. I think they play the Seahawks, actually. They're working out Phillip Rivers of all people like that. I don't even know what the Colts are thinking. But speaking of Jacksonville, they established their dominance over the Colts once again in Jacksonville, and that makes it like 11 or 12 straight games that they've won at home against them. And, I mean, Jacksonville is just such a scary team now. They started out pretty high after forcing a billion takeaways. Then they started kind of crumbling down with Trevor Lawrence not looking very good. But ever since then, they've been playing really good. I think they've won like 4 straight or something like that. Trevor Lawrence is playing some great complimentary football. For me, he gets my man of the match. He's just been very efficient. He hasn't been turning the ball over, which is the best version of Trevor Lawrence that we can see. And now Jacksonville's 9-4, leading the AFC South. I believe they're going to win it. I believe they might have a tiebreaker with the Texans. I actually don't know about that. But it feels like they're going to win the South, and, like, honestly, I wouldn't really want to play Jacksonville. Them and the Texans are 2 teams in the AFC South, which I would not want to play because their defenses and their complementary offenses, like, it's just really hard to beat them, especially in these atmospheres like Duval. So shout out to him. And speaking of AFC South, like, I think Shane Steichen completely lost his Coach of the Year basically vote, and it's probably going to go to Liam Cohen. It's either going to be Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, or Mike Vrabel. It's actually been a very tight race this year. There's a lot of leading candidates. Now we got the Vikings shutting out the Commanders 31-0, and was probably the most surprising result of the entire week. I could have maybe seen the Vikings win just because they're both bad teams, and the Commanders are not very good at all. But I did not expect 31-0. Commanders, this is embarrassing on all fronts. Talking about your offense, Jaden Daniels, for some reason, decided to come back. He played terrible and then re-aggravated the injury. So for me, if you don't shut him down for the rest of the year, then everyone in that organization needs to be fired. Apart from that, literally nothing happened. Mariota played bad, and Zach Ertz's knee, it got completely destroyed. It kind of sucks for him. That might be the last game of his career. But speaking on the Vikings, I mean, kind of too little too late, in my opinion, because it feels like you're already out of the playoffs with how stacked the NFC is. But J.J. McCarthy actually had like the first good game of his NFL career. He gets my man of the match. I mean, he didn't do nothing impressive. He had like 160 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he didn't turn the ball over, which is a miracle. And overall, like, again, this is the first game of his career in which he's had 4 quarters of good football. It hasn't been 1 quarter, like against the Bears twice, or a half, like, I don't even know. Like, he's finally been consistent is what I'm saying. Hopefully we see more of this, because otherwise the Vikings would still be in purgatory. But if they can get some actual good quarterback play, then maybe this entire core can be saved, and also Kevin O'Connell's job can be saved. My only problem with this performance is that Justin Jefferson still didn't play well, and that's really concerning for me. And to be honest, maybe if it continues like this, maybe we can get Justin Jefferson out of there. Maybe we can get him to a nice winning team. Not the Chiefs, please, but just it would be nice if Justin Jefferson got a chance to actually win a ring, because he's probably not going to win one here. But overall, shout out to the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy. Play like this so we can retire the 9 joke, because every quarterback is getting slandered with it. And now we got probably the game of the week. The Bills held on against the Bengals 39-34. In a classic shootout between Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. I predicted in my predictions video that both of these guys would be the key players, and that's basically how it played out. Both of these quarterbacks had to turn to Superman, but Joe Burrow was actually ahead for most of the time as he was throwing dimes out there, even with T. Higgins playing on a concussion. Obviously, Jamar Chase was there. Like, Joe Burrow played so incredible up until the 4th quarter. Josh Allen was trying to keep up with him. He was always down by 2 scores, cutting it to 1. But then the game flipped in the 4th quarter when Joe Burrow threw a brutal pick 6 and then followed up with a 2nd straight interception. That made the Bills go up 1 step ahead, and then the Bengals were chasing the game. Joe Burrow threw a nice touchdown pass, but then Josh Allen iced the game. It really sucks for the Bengals, because this feels like if this was like in week 4 and you dropped to like 2-2 or 1-3, you wouldn't be concerned. But it really sucks that Joe Burrow was out for the whole game, for the whole season, or lion's share of it, just because with how they're playing in these 2 games, it feels like they would have probably been a playoff team if Joe Burrow didn't get hurt, especially with how bad the other teams in the division are. It just kind of sucks for them. It's just kind of been the whole story of this entire core. And for the Bills, I mean, they squeaked out the win. Even with James Cook not playing well, they were able to shift their identity. Josh Allen easily gets my man of the match. He was just so good. Hyper accurate. He was running all over the place. Like, he played like Superman. This is one of the vintage Josh Allen performances. This is one of the performances as to why he won MVP last year and why he's still, for me, kind of a candidate. I mean, the defense is still kind of concerning. I don't know how they're going to fare against good playoff offenses. Not that there's that many apart from like the Patriots, but it's still something to look at. But with Josh Allen playing like this, there are very few teams that are going to beat Buffalo. Now I got the Saints upsetting the Buccaneers 24-20 in the what the hell game of the week. This is probably the biggest. This actually might be the most unexpected result of the entire week because, I mean, what the heck happened? Like, Tampa Bay just completely laid an egg. I think they failed 3 fourth downs, including the one at the end of the game. Baker Mayfield was complete garbage. They couldn't stop the run, which is something that Tampa Bay has been good at since 2019. That was weird. Tyler Shuck actually played pretty well. He played better than Baker Mayfield, and you'd think that one team was out of the playoffs while the other team was competing for the division. I would have thought that the Saints were competing for the playoffs. The Buccaneers had multiple chances this entire season to just take the division, and now they're inviting the Panthers back, and honestly, I might trust the Panthers more, to be completely honest. I know Bryce Young is very inconsistent, but Baker Mayfield has not been playing well ever since that MVP level start in weeks 1 through 6. He's been, and with that shoulder injury, he's starting to be inaccurate. Even if they're getting healthier, it feels like it doesn't matter. And I don't know. This Tampa Bay team, if they make the playoffs, even by a division winner, they're going to get clapped by whoever the 5 seed is, whether it's the Packers, the Seahawks, the Bears, or the 49ers. All 4 of those teams completely wash Tampa Bay. But, as for the Saints, you get a worse draft pick with this win. My man of the match goes to their defense, who obviously shut down everything about that Buccaneers offense. Shout out to them, because this looked like when Brady was on the Buccaneers, where your defense completely shut them down. And Tampa Bay remembers all those games, how they were not fun. You better fix up, Tampa Bay, because otherwise the Panthers' objects in the mirror are closer than they appear, and the Panthers are right on your tail. Now I got the Steelers beating the Ravens 27-22. The Ravens frustrate me so much because I think we just need to establish that they're not a good team. They're 6-7 now, and we need to talk about Lamar because Lamar had a good game against the Dolphins in his triumphant return. And ever since then, the Dolphins have actually been playing well. We'll talk about them in a bit. But Lamar has not been good. He's put up dud after dud performance. He wasn't good against the Jets. He wasn't good against the Vikings. He wasn't good against the Bengals. I think I missed another game there. And now he's not good against the Steelers. Sure, that Isaiah Likely catch was, for me, a catch. It should have been a touchdown, which kind of cost them the game. But still, they didn't execute on any plays. Their defense obviously didn't really do that well. They let Aaron Rodgers have a great performance. They let DK Metcalf go crazy. But still, that 2-minute warning was pathetic, where you had to go 80 yards all the way to the end zone when you still had a chance to win. I believe you had a timeout, and they just completely blew it. That execution was downright horrendous. And, the Ravens just don't deserve to be in the playoffs. And it's not like the Steelers played amazing, but they're now 7-6. They have a way easier schedule down the rest of their games, and then they still get their game in Pittsburgh. It feels like the Steelers, they're back in complete control of the AFC North after it felt like 3 weeks ago that the Ravens were in complete control. This division is just so weird. Man of the match goes to DK Metcalf. Played incredible. I think this is the 1 week in this entire season where Metcalf actually outplayed George Pickens. So I guess that's a silver lining for the Steelers right there. But, I guess Pittsburgh, just continue what you're doing because you're actually going to get a home playoff game somehow. And for the Ravens, honestly, it's not much that your team needs to fix. It's just your quarterback needs to play a lot better because he's not looking like any sort of MVP candidate right now. Now I got the Dolphins destroying the Jets 34-10. I couldn't really tell you much of what happened in this game. All I know is that Tyrod Taylor went down early after providing negative fantasy points for anyone that had to start him. And Brady Cook had to step in and did absolutely nothing, obviously. Tua didn't really do much, didn't really play well per se, but he actually got a win in the cold weather, so I guess that's a shout out to him. But overall, the Dolphins, they've actually been a sneaky good team. Obviously, they started out terrible. They looked like one of the worst teams in the league earlier in the year. But actually, they're riding off kind of a nice winning streak, and they actually have the same amount of wins as the Ravens and another big team that we're going to talk about later. So I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but actually, Mike McDaniel and Tua may have actually saved their jobs with this winning streak, so I guess that's a positive for them. My man of the match goes through their entire running game. I forgot what his name was, but apart from Achane, they had another guy. They ran for 200 yards on the Jets, which with that weather actually is kind of impressive. So the Dolphins have actually shifted their identity, from being this high-flying offense with Waddle and Hill and Tua trying to throw downfield, but now being just a ground and pound team that just completely destroy you on the run with all these good running backs, and Tua's just a game manager, which I guess is a good way to win because they've won 4 straight. Starting with that Buffalo game, they've actually looked pretty good, even if against easy opponents. I don't think they're going to make a wild card push, but once again, I think the Dolphins are a team to look out for because they can definitely upset you in one of their final 4 games. Moving on to the late slate, we got the Broncos beating the Raiders 24-17 in what a nothing burger of a game. It was just the Broncos playing with their food the entire time. Bo Nix completed 31 passes and had less than 220 yards. Was a complete check down Charlie. That was probably the personification of this game. It was extremely boring. If I mentioned, they had a punt return touchdown. Geno Smith did absolutely nothing. Ashton Jeanty looked miserable. I mean, the Broncos, I think they're a good team. You don't go 11-2 by being complete garbage because I still think their defense is good. But I don't know. Like, it feels like this game was 24-14, so I guess I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But it does kind of suck. Like, the Broncos really haven't destroyed many of these teams. Like, even against the Titans in week 1, they won by like 8 points, and it was kind of competitive the entire time. I don't know. I just kind of want to see the Broncos dominate more because, like, they are the number 1 seed in the AFC, but, like, they appear a little bit fluky. I still think you're a good team, but I don't see you as a Super Bowl contender because I don't see many convincing wins. I mean, shout out to your defense. They obviously get the man of the match. They're still so good. They sacked Geno Smith around like 3 times. Nick Bonito continues to be great. And I mean, it could be like 2015 all over again where your offense just does enough and then your defense just carries. But I don't know. I feel like your offense does need to step up in these big games, especially with Green Bay next up in the schedule. That will truly test how good the Broncos are. And as for the Raiders, I mean, you're an afterthought. Again, you're just waiting for the season to end so you can part ways with Geno Smith and or Pete Carroll. Now I got the Rams completely dropping their nuts all over the Arizona Cardinals, 45-17. This game was pretty much never close. The Cardinals struck first, 7-0, and then after that, the Rams outscored them 45-10. Jesus Christ. Like, again, nothing went wrong for the Rams. They passed super efficiently. Their defense was able to clamp down on Jacoby Brissett. They stopped him from getting 300 yards, which is actually kind of a big accomplishment. But yeah, Jacoby Brissett couldn't get a stat padding off. It's just like the Cardinals are just waiting for the season to end. So they're kind of like the Raiders of the NFC, which is not a good thing, by the way. And the Rams, good bounce back win after losing to the Panthers, even if it was against a bad Cardinals team. For me, the man of the match goes to their entire offense. I'm not even lying. Like, I could have given this to Stafford. He played great. Puka Nacua, incredible. Blake Corum, incredible. Kyron Williams also played great. Like, literally, their offense didn't stop clicking the entire time. Like, this is one of the peak Sean McVay games of the entire season. And similar to the Seahawks, I feel like the Rams just have to look forward to their biggest matchups of the season, specifically in Week 16, where they play the Seahawks on Thursday night. That's probably going to be their biggest game of the season because it's going to decide whether they have to go on the road in the playoffs or maybe if they even get the number 1 seed. And thanks to another game that we're going to talk about, they actually regained the number 1 seed in the NFC. So, I mean, the Rams, they're still as dangerous as ever. And as a nice little bonus, Atlanta lost. So now you're going to get a top 10 pick in the draft, which is just scary for the rest of the NFL because this rich team is going to get even richer next year. Now I got the Packers staving off the Chicago Bears 28-21 in what was such a good NFL game in my opinion. It started out kind of slow, but it picked up quickly. And I mean, this was just a great game between two iconic rivals in the NFL. I think when the Bears and Packers both put up shows to provide entertainment, I think that's when the league is at its best because this was just an NFL classic for me. But the game started out really sloppy. Caleb Williams missed on like his first 5 passes. Jordan Love threw an interception. But after that, the Packers jumped out to like a 14-3 lead. The Bears tried to cut it. I think they actually tied it, and then they were trading blow for blow. Well, when then the Bears actually tied it at 21 thanks to a touchdown pass. But then the Packers executed on a really good drive with Josh Jacobs going crazy. I think he had a really solid game. And Jordan Love threw what I believe was his 3rd touchdown pass of the game. It might have been to Christian Watson, actually. Or no, I think Jacobs actually ran it in. And then they had the lead, and then Caleb Williams had a chance to go in the clutch, but then after some questionable clock management, Caleb Williams just ended up throwing a really bad pass right into Keyshawn Nixon for the Packers to win. And I kind of feel really bad for the Bears because this loss put them from the 1 seed all the way to the 7th seed, which is absolutely crazy. Like, this NFC is just so stacked. It's going to be a movie at the end of the year. Meanwhile, the Packers, they take back control of the North. They're now 8-3-1. It feels like they're going to win the NFC North unless they falter against Chicago in Soldier Field in what I believe is Week 16. Week 16 is going to be a movie, by the way. But the Packers, I think they're a really great team. They lost to the Panthers, which now honestly doesn't look as bad. You lost to Philly, which does kind of look bad. And then you lost to Cleveland in Week 3. I can kind of pardon that just because of early season struggles. But it feels like the Packers are such a good team. Like, I can't think, apart from Philly, there isn't a good team that they haven't beat. Obviously, they've beaten the Bears and they've beaten the Lions twice while being the better team in all three of those games. Man of the match goes to Jordan Love. And honestly, apart from the Rams, I would probably pick the Packers as my favorite in the NFC because that defense, and with Jordan Love now playing great, there's very few teams I feel like can get them if they're on their day. It's just crazy. Now we got Sunday Night Football with the Texans toppling off the Chiefs 20-10. I loved every second in this game, man. The Texans defense made the Chiefs look so ordinary. Not even ordinary. They made them look stupid. The game started out with the Texans offense actually kind of clicking. They started out with a field goal and then they got a touchdown. And then the Chiefs defense actually woke up a lot because they forced like 4 straight 3-and-outs. It was crazy. Like they forced like 6 straight punts. They didn't get a single touchdown until something that we'll talk about later in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs offense did absolutely nothing. Mahomes turned the ball over on like the second drive of the game. They missed the field goal at the end of the half. Then they actually struck with a run with Kareem Hunt up the middle, and then they got a field goal. And then the fourth quarter started. And that's where it feels like the Chiefs' season just completely unraveled. The Texans were once again not doing anything. Mahomes threw an arm punt, which turned into a second interception. And then they decided to go for it on fourth down from their own 31, which was maybe the most questionable decision that I've ever seen Andy Reid make. They fail. Texans turned into a touchdown. Then the Chiefs, I believe, went for it on fourth down again and failed. Texans did nothing. And then the Chiefs tried one more time. And then Mahomes threw a pass. It was dropped by Travis Kelce. Turned into his third interception on the day. Mahomes was complete garbage on the day. At least statistically, he had like a passer rating of 19, which is ridiculously bad. And then the Texans just turned into 3 and won the game. Again, CJ Stroud did barely anything to win this game. He played well in the beginning, but then after that was wildly inaccurate and was getting sacked when it felt like every other play. The Chiefs defense stepped up, but the Chiefs offense was terrible. Now the Chiefs have to look at themselves in the mirror and basically say that they're not going to make the playoffs, especially if they lose against the Chargers next week. They're basically all but out of it. The Texans played great. I mean, their defense is just so good. They gave me a man of the match. 3 takeaways, forcing like 1 of 3 on fourth down. Only allowing 10 points to Arrowhead's Kansas City. Like, they're just so good. Honestly, the Texans are the one team outside of like the Patriots and Broncos, I guess. Like, I would not want to see the Texans in the playoffs because that defense is actually terrifying. Like, I wouldn't if I was an opposing quarterback, the last team that I would want to play are the Houston Texans because DeMeco Ryans has that defense cooking something crazy. But for the Chiefs, I mean, I love every second of it because it feels like they're going to miss the playoffs, and a playoffs without the Chiefs would be magnificent. But, like, for Chiefs fans, I don't really know where you go from here because this season, it just feels like it's lost because nothing is going right. And ending the week, we got the Philadelphia Eagles losing the 3rd straight game to the Los Angeles Chargers 22-19. I wasn't really able to catch much of this game, but I got the highlights, and I was able to watch most of the end. It's just the same story over and over again as it feels like, but now they're just losing all these games instead of winning. Philly's offense was terrible. Are we surprised by that? Saquon had a decent game, but outside of a 52-yard carry, was still largely inefficient. Jalen Hurts had by far his worst game of the season. Threw 4 interceptions. He had another fumble on the interception where like they got the ball back, but then he fumbled again. It was weird. He technically finished with 5 turnovers. The connection with A.J. Brown was decent. Like, I thought on the final drive where they got their 19-16 field goal, I thought that was going to be the winner. He threw a really nice pass. His best throw of the game was actually dropped by A.J. Brown, which kind of sucks. But Philly's offense just sucks. Like, I'm tired of blaming Kevin Patullo because, honestly, what I saw wasn't even his fault. Like, everyone is responsible. Like, I think the receivers are responsible. Jalen Hurts is largely responsible. Saquon is responsible. The offensive line. Like, it's not just Patullo's fault, the fact that the Eagles' offense hasn't looked good anywhere outside of 3 halves of football and maybe 2 games against the Vikings and the Giants. Meanwhile, for the Chargers, it's not like they played great. They got sacked 7, or Herbert got sacked 7 times. He threw an interception. He threw a touchdown as well, but the running game wasn't all that bad. Like, Philly's defense did enough to win. It's just that in overtime, they forced like their 5th field goal of the game, and then Hurts couldn't respond because he threw his 4th interception. Now, you're lucky that Dallas lost because they're still 6-6-1, and you're 8-5. Like, you play the Raiders next week, and you also have 2 games against the Commanders. If you don't win all 3 of those games, like, you don't even have to beat Buffalo. You have to win twice against the Commanders and against the Raiders. if you don't win all 3 of those games, then I'm done with Philly. Honestly, I should be done with Philly because, again, that defense is good enough to win you the Super Bowl again, in my opinion. It's just that offense is bad enough to make you miss the playoffs. This offense is pathetic. If it weren't for Dallas being so inept early in the season, you could look at them completely losing out in the East. Again, I don't trust Dallas enough to do that, but like Philly, for me, they're a walking one and done. For the Chargers, good job staving off the Eagles because now I think you're definitely going to make the playoffs. You're 9-4. I think you're definitely going to tackle the Chiefs off next week. And, I mean, if you can win with Justin Herbert getting sacked 7 times, I guess that's a good thing. My man of the match goes to their defense, getting 5 takeaways, even if it's against Philly. It's very impressive. Keep doing what you're doing, Chargers. Protect Herbert at least a little bit because if he gets sacked 7 times again, then you're not going to see him for the playoffs. Just please, for his sake. And now to my end of week superlatives. My player of the week goes to Josh Allen. I'm sorry, this is like the 3rd time I've given it to him, and I could have given it to him in week 1 if I had this award at the time, but he was just so good. Again, not many guys stood out. I kind of wanted to give it to like the Texans defense just because they were so good, or maybe like Jordan Love, but Josh Allen carried the team. I believe he had like 80 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown, 3 passing touchdowns, was insanely accurate. And outgunned Joe Burrow, which is not hard. Like, it's not easy to do. Like, there are not many quarterbacks that can do that. And, like, he was just incredible. Also, I could have maybe given it to Matthew Stafford, but again, I just think the whole offense of the Rams was good, and I believe this was like a bigger stage game. So, shout out to Josh Allen for winning in the snow. And my Hall of Idiots, we got the Kansas City Chiefs, Kevin Stefanski for doing whatever the hell he did on that final play. The Commanders for getting shut out. I believe they're one of the only teams to get shut out this season. The Baltimore Ravens for that horrible 2-minute drill. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers for losing to the Saints of all teams. Like, what are you doing? That's just cringe. And finally, Jalen Hurts for having his worst game of the season. One of the worst quarterback performances of the year. 4 interceptions. You proved all your haters right, which there are a lot of them. I'm not one of them, but honestly, if you keep playing like that, then I might become one because Jesus Christ, like Philly makes me sick. And that is the end of my Week 14 review. Once again, so many things happened. So many teams moved up. So many teams moved down. A lot of teams got kicked out. Next week will be even crazier because even more teams are going to drop and the margin for error is going to shrink even more. But if you enjoyed this, please subscribe and please like, as any support is truly appreciated. And I'll see you guys in a couple of days for my predictions of Week 15.